Miss Karen, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
As I've said, my name is Selo Kuvuna. I always tell people Selo like Jello, just because it helps people remember and whatnot. But yes, could you also state your name, who you are, title and position as well too?
Sure. I am Karen Lewis. I am currently the Director of Children's Ministries. I've been on staff here for 20 years. I grew up in this church, came here when I was in 4th grade to this church. And before I became Director of Children's Ministries, I was the youth director. And actually, which is we designate teenagers as youth. So that was the work that I've enjoyed the most, actually, being here.
Wow. The first thing I have to say, you said you've been here since you were 4?
Since I was in 4th grade.
Since you were in 4th grade?
Right.
Okay, so you've probably seen 1,000,000,001 changes and whatnot. So how has the process been like from when you started to now?
Well, here, the biggest changes have actually been in the facility. There have not been a lot of changes in what it is people try to accomplish who are working with children and youth. I don't think that has changed a lot.
Okay.
I think maybe some of the methodology has changed a little bit. Some of the emphasis has changed a little bit. And that's one of the things that I enjoy about this faith is that it is an evolving faith. And so when we see that certain needs are no longer being met by the way things used to be done, we're eager to try new things.
Okay, thank you. And could you tell us the name of this establishment as well as certain beliefs and whatnot?
Sure. The name of this church is the First Unitarian Church of Dallas. It was established in 1899 here in Dallas, and probably has been in this location since, I would say, the 1950s, or maybe even a little earlier. The word Unitarian is, when you think of Trinitarian, you know what that means. It's three sides of God, three aspects of God. Well, we believe that God is one. We do not affirm the Trinity. Our understanding when we read Christian scripture is it has brought us to that conclusion that God is one. In the 60s, so the very first Unitarians can be traced way, way back to Transylvania, actually, and even earlier than that, there were people who affirmed that same thing, the oneness of God, way back. But then what is currently known as Unitarianism is more recent. And again, Transylvania with King John Sigismund is a good place to start if you're looking at Unitarian history. In 1963, the Unitarians merged with the Universalists. So we've got, the name of our church is First Unitarian Church of Dallas because the church was formed before the merger.
Oh, wow.
Our faith is Unitarian Universalism.
Okay.
So, Unitarian, one God. Universalism means that we believe that God, how do I say this? That an omnipotent and loving God would never send a mortal, fallible, we're born fallible, right? To hell. So we do not believe in hell.
Okay.
And that's what Universalism, that's how Universalism started out, and you can trace their history back quite a ways too. So in the 60s we merged, so we are now Unitarian Universalists.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's a big name. In fact, there's a children's book called Unitarian Universalism is a really long name.
Is that the name of the book, really?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
It's in our library. I just showed you our library, yeah.
That's so funny. That's interesting. That's interesting, the whole concept of everything and whatnot. How is it that you came about to coming to this establishment? Is it establishment or church?
It's a church.
Okay.
This is a
so
church. We are a faith.
How were you introduced to this church here in Dallas?
My mom, my my mom, let's see, my dad died when I was 6. And I'm an only child. My mom was grieving. And some people that she knew through, I guess, the company that my father had worked for,
Okay.
invited her here.
Wow.
And she brought me.
Okay.
And it took, you could say.
Right, because it takes some time, right?
Yeah,
Especially
it works.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still here.
No, that's right. Man, is there anything that attracted you right from the start that you were saying to yourself, yes, I love it? Or was it a gradual process throughout?
I think that I always knew that the people here were listening to me. And they made me feel like what I said had value. And they honored my questions.
Okay.
And when they said they didn't know, when they didn't know the answer, they said so.
Oh, wow.
They said, I don't know, let's talk about that. So I always felt welcome here. I felt heard and respected.
Wow.
Now, could I have put it that way when I was in 4th grade? Probably not. But I think that that's what did it for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it's crazy interesting how you're verbatim saying exactly what one of the books that we're reading about, how important it is to value what children have to say, because sometimes children themselves are theologians, if anything. So how important is that to you in valuing what children have to say, especially at a young age?
When we train our teachers, excuse me, we give them curriculum. We have curriculum lessons, stories, activities, craft things they can do with glitter and whatnot. But we tell them the curriculum is not the book. The curriculum is the experience that the child has here. And that experience is created through the relationships that they build with their peers and with the adults who are working with them and who are in dialogue with them. And I tell them, when parents pick up their children after Sunday school, they'll say, what did you do today? The kids will say, oh, nothing. Well, we know they didn't do nothing.
You're correct.
The message I want the teachers to understand is they may not be able to tell you what they learned. They may not be able to spit it back, but they can tell you how they felt. And so it's that feeling of being loved and valued and cherished, respected. That is the curriculum.
Yeah.
That is what we strive to make happen every Sunday here.
That's amazing. If anything, since you touched upon a little bit of storytelling and whatnot, in regards to creative methods that you guys teach and everything like that, is there anything that stands out that you guys prefer, or in regards to something that you guys like to do with the children? Do you guys have any favorite preferences in regards to creative methods?
We tell our parents, and it's true, that every lesson here, it doesn't matter what age group, it doesn't matter whether they're 3 or whether they're in 9th grade. My purview is nursery through 9th grade, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But anyway, every lesson begins with a story here. And that's how we present anything we teach. So the teacher might say, today's lesson is from the Christian scriptures. Today's lesson is from the Hebrew scriptures. Today's lesson is from Dr. Seuss. So we draw on stories from everywhere, from all faiths. You can see on the bulletin board over here, on the word board, you can see quotes from the Quran, from the Buddhist faith, from all kinds of faiths. And we tell parents that all of the stories are true, and some of them actually happened. Now, so going from there, moving along from there, after they're told a story, there's discussion about what does that story mean to us today.
Right.
So I'm talking about a story that was written 2,000 years ago. what does that have to do with my life today? What does that have to do with what's happening in the world today? What does that have to do with your experience at school? Are you being bullied? How do you stand up to that? How are you standing up to justice, for right action, for putting your values into action? And we do that all kinds of ways. We love to talk. Unitarian Universalists love to talk. We can talk something to death, and probably I'll go over time on your video for that reason.
That's perfectly fine.
But what we have learned, there's a couple of things we've learned through trial and error, and that is that when kids are doing crafts or coloring, let's color this picture of Jesus.
Okay.
You know, they are looking down.
Mm-hmm.
When they are playing outside cooperative games, they're looking at each other.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's what we strive for, is this connection with other people and building friendships and building community here where they feel safe and valued. So we have started eliminating some of those craft activities and replacing them with games, especially games that are cooperative. The other thing that we've done recently is, you'll notice on this wall over behind me, there's a screen. We have just in the last 2 years put a smart screen in every classroom because we know we may not like everything about it, but whether we like it or not, those kids are on their screens all the time, whether it's in their hands, at home, at school.
Right.
And this is their world now. So we have started encouraging teachers to look at their lesson and then maybe, instead of telling the story, because they don't have to tell it as it's written in the curriculum, if they can find a video about it, or if they can find a video that relates to the story about standing up to bullies or whatever, standing up for racial injustice and fighting racial injustice, then we want them to bring that video into the classroom, and we give them a lot of freedom in that. We entrust them with the care of the kids, and it gives them the ability to. I think that if the lesson is meaningful for the teachers, if the teachers are enjoying the lesson, so will the kids, and that's what we want.
I believe it. Nice. Thank you so much for the insight as well too.
Also, costumes.
Costumes. Oh,
Costumes
you guys did costumes?
Are wonderful.
Oh my gosh.
There's nothing better than having the kids reenact the story they just heard, and they love it, and they will remember. That way, they will remember. When their parent picks them up, says, "What did you do today?" They will be able to say, I was Joseph in the story of the Nativity, or whatever it is that they're studying.
That's amazing. We're literally reading about that, costumes and just the interaction with the children and everything. I was gonna ask you, what inspires you to get up every day and to come here and just do things for the kids and with the kids in mind, in regards to the youth as well?
Unitarian Universalists say we don't know what happens after we die. We don't know.
Okay.
So what we try to do is, without sounding grandiose, we try to save people in the here and now. We try to create heaven on earth. And when I was growing up, after my dad died, my mom remained a widow for 10 years. It was 10 years before she remarried. But some of those years were spent here. And in a sense, the church saved me. Now, I couldn't have told you that when I was a child. But I was lonely, and I was sad, and my mom was so sad, and she was depressed, but I didn't know what was wrong with her. I'm just a child.
Correct.
But this was a place where she seemed to come more alive. She seemed to be more at ease, less worried. She was always worried, very, fret about everything. And it was also a place where, after a certain point in my life, certainly by the time I was a young teen,
Mm-hmm.
my social life was here.
Okay.
My friends were here. Now, I had acquaintances at school, but this is where my friends were.
Okay.
Does that answer your
Yes,
question?
it does. It does. It does. And the very last question I was going to ask is there any words of advice that you have for those who are pursuing ministry or pursuing anything that has to do with leading kids and whatnot? Are there any words that you have for those type of people?
Mm. Only this.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I had done that.
Mm-hmm.
I wish that I had. I think that a lot of people that do the work that you're about to do felt a call.
Mm-hmm.
I think I did too, but I didn't know what it was.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't recognize it as what it was. And if I had, I don't know that I would have gone into become a parish minister or,
Okay.
but I think I would have done exactly what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Do it well. That's
Wow.
my message,
Wow.
I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Keep your eyes open and your ears open. Listen to your heart.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's all.
Oh my gosh. Can I give you a hug?
Oh, you bet.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. Mm.
It was a pleasure.
Yes, it was. Let me go ahead and turn that. Oh, you have been more than helpful.